Guide Special, Gene and Roger's annual review of the latest video gadgets.
This is what so many people have been waiting for.
From tiny cameras to giant screen TVs.
I'll bet this cost them a pretty penny.
Plus, the season's best in-home video, featuring recent blockbusters.
We sail into history.
Newly released classics. And film treasures for the whole family. They'll also show you the hottest new video games for the kids.
Have you ever crashed?
All the Siskel and Ebert picks for the best in-home video this holiday season.
This is the annual Siskel and Ebert Holiday Video Gift Guide. It's a program devoted to video software and hardware gifts that you might want to give or receive this holiday season. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Let's get right into movie giving this year and look at some titles that were missed by most people at the box office but really deserve a home viewing. Here are 3 fine, recent commercially overlooked films that I would like to have in my library and would feel very confident giving as gifts. First, Henry V is Kenneth Branagh's exciting version of the Shakespearean drama, and the special quality that Branagh brings to the character of Henry is to make him a joyful leader in combat.
For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile, this day shall gentle his condition.
I also admire Enemies, a love story about traumatized survivors of the Holocaust dealing with their new lives in post-war New York. Ron Silver's character is trying to grab as much love as he can without getting too involved.
How do you manage it? You rush from one to the other?
I do the best I can. And I also like Internal Affairs, a macho cop thriller that is more about how the police relate to each other than any criminals. Richard Gere is sleeping with almost every colleague's wife here.
Can I trust you? Of course you can trust me. I'm a cop.
And, of course, you can't trust him. And, of course, the Richard Gere movie from 1990 that everyone is seeing is Pretty Woman. That's an easy recommendation, but I think his acting was just as good in the much more dark story, Internal Affairs. I'd like to see that picture again.
It's a real good movie, but the one of your list that I would pick for Christmas giving is Henry V, because it's not only Shakespeare, but it's also great drama, great romance, great passion,
Yes.
and it's fun.
It is entertaining.
Yeah. These days it seems like a movie is either a gigantic hit or it fades out of sight in a week or two, and that is too bad, because the more discriminating you are, the more you might like some of the movies that everybody else doesn't go for. I also have 3 overlooked movies that fall in that category, and one of them is Mountains of the Moon, a movie based on the life of Sir Richard Burton, the intrepid explorer of the Victorian age, and his obsessive quest for the sources of the Nile in the heart of Africa. This is one of those rare movies that is as intelligent as it is entertaining.
Common friend, the great island that rules the northern sea.
I also enjoyed the sinister charm of Rob Lowe in a movie called Bad Influence, where he drops one day into the life of a conventional guy played by James Spader and insidiously lures him into breaking the law. Michael Caine is one of the best movie actors of the last 25 years, and in a shock to the system, he plays a competitive advertising executive who sees one way to move up in the organization: by murder. It's a sly comedy about the workings of a devious and crafty mind, and I especially like Caine as the evil schemer.
Robert Benham died in that explosion. We haven't released that yet. But you're not surprised.
Well, you said the name of the boat on television. I knew it was Bob's.
He was your superior, wasn't he?
No, he was my boss.
No, he was my boss. You know, Variety, the show business paper, ran a list not long ago of who the busiest actors in Hollywood are.
Right.
And they're Michael Caine, James Belushi, and Gene Hackman.
Right.
Caine works all the time, and he's very rarely in a bad performance. He's always fun to watch.
He's very good. I don't think I would buy any one of the 3 films you'd see.
Really?
I'd screen Mountains of the Moon, I'd rent it, and the shock to the system. Maybe this would be a good holiday gift. A gift certificate at a rental store, but only one that a critic would come up with, and that is, you must rent these films. So you give the person the gift, and here's the ones that you can rent. You like that idea?
Well, kind of controlling, Jim.
I like that.
Maybe
Yeah.
people might be able to rent the films that they want to choose.
No, anyone can do that. A critic would want to do this. Also on this show, we want to recommend home video hardware that we've field tested. In fact, we're going to be having a face-off at the end of the show where Roger and I are going to be in combat on a video game. Now, speaking of hardware, you probably remember when video camcorders were bulky like this one. Well, look at they've gotten a whole lot smaller. Look at this little guy, little baby camera. That's why I went out and tested in the field 3 so-called palm corders. One of the most frequent occasions people use camcorders is when they're tourists. So we played tourist, conducting our field test at the observatory atop the world's third tallest building, Chicago's John Hancock Center. The first camera we tested is one of Panasonic's palmcorders. This model costs $1,300. It uses compact VHS tapes and weighs under 3 pounds when loaded. A professional cameraman is shooting me, and here's some of my video from the tour. Okay, here's one of the great landmarks in Chicago, the water tower which survived the Chicago fire. The camera has a zoom lens and can automatically focus and balance color and light. But that doesn't mean you get perfect pictures. The operator, of course, has a part in all of this. There is a building that is actually taller in Chicago. It is the world's tallest building, and that's the Sears Tower. How could I portray this in a more interesting way? I mean, I could tilt. This won't work?
No, it's sideways. You know, the building will be like this if you do it on TV. Like it.
You can't tilt. You can't tilt.
It's a lens, you know.
I promise you won't tell anyone that I didn't know that. One thing this palmcorder can help you with is steadying your shots. This camera has a digital image stabilizer, sort of the equivalent of the movie Steadicam. And when it's turned on, it really helps the amateur. Nice shot. Camera number 2 is one of Sony's Video 8 Handycams. It uses 8mm tape, a format that Sony really prefers, and this model lists for $1,400. It's lightweight, coming in at just over 2 pounds. And now we come to one of the prettiest spots of Chicago, Lakeshore Drive. As you can see, the Sony camera takes some very sharp video images. It too has a zoom lens and an automatic focus and balance. But I had some trouble taking very steady pictures with it. How about the old kick of trying to look into somebody's apartment? Jimmy Stewart, Rear Window. Finally, the futuristic setup of the JVC Modular Component Video System. This sleek briefcase holds a tiny camera that can be strapped to your wrist. You could use it for surreptitious shooting, or how about when you're skiing or skydiving? A small VCR records in either the VHS or Super VHS format. A miniature color monitor lets you view the tapes anywhere, but the list price for the JVC video system is a whopping $2,500. Here's what the video looks like. A couple of problems with this system. You can't do anything special with its tiny camera. The focus is fixed, and there's no zoom lens. Well, if I could buy only one, it would be this Sony, the one with this adjustable viewfinder like this. It has a terrific lens, a widescreen view when you look through the viewfinder, but I also like that stabilizing feature in the Panasonic. I think, Roger, if I could develop a camera, it would be this camera with that built-in stabilizer, because I am tired, I'm sure you are, of these herky-jerky shots.
Yeah. I have never owned a video camera, and I've resisted it because it always seemed to me like you'd be having to lug this thing everywhere, and it gets in between you and whatever experience you're having.
That's exactly right.
Is this less obtrusive, let's say, at a family gathering or something?
It is. It is. I mean, it's in your palm. You're always going to have that one issue that you just said, which is, am I looking through the world through the viewfinder? I just think that this is less of a bulky thing.
One thing I'll say, it's not much bigger than a regular 35mm camera.
Right.
And having seen some home video, it certainly does capture a moment, and let's say in the history of a family, more than still photos do.
It's a good purchase.
Next, we're going to have more recommendations of movies to buy, both blockbusters that deserve their success, and also some guilty pleasures, movies we're almost embarrassed to admit we like. Almost.
Of course, the greatest movie I've ever seen is The Godfather, so that's always a great gift. You can't lose on that.
Welcome back to our holiday video gift guide, where it's time to look at some more great movie gifts. We talked about overlooked films, Roger. Now we're going to talk about some popular films. Here are a couple of popular movies from the last year that I found worthy of their reception. Now they're on tape and disc. Pretty Woman certainly sugar-coated the life of a prostitute, but it also heralded a new star, Julia Roberts, the sunniest presence to hit the movies in a long, long time.
Well, color me happy. There's a sofa in here for two.
First time in an elevator.
Another worthy success is Glory, the Civil War epic about a regiment of brave black Union soldiers.
That's right, Hines. Ain't no dream. We run away safe, but we come back fighting. We'll tell you, folks, our kingdom coming. Here's Jubilee.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. You can really feel the pride flowing back and forth between the characters there. And that's a movie like Henry V, where I think maybe that historical document approach is what you want to buy.
It's an important movie about a chapter in history that not enough people know about. I have a couple of hits that I'd like to recommend for Christmas gifts also this year. One of the smartest thrillers in a long time was The Hunt for Red October, with Sean Connery as the skipper of a Soviet submarine who steers his craft straight for the United States. It obviously looks like a lone wolf on the attack, but it's a lot more complicated than that. The sub's interior look is especially authentic.
A great day, comrades. We sail into history.
And here's an offbeat comedy I especially enjoyed during the year. Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in Joe versus the Volcano. It's a weird fantasy about an office worker who hates his job so much he gets sick and, thinking he doesn't have long to live, sets sail for the South Seas. The movie has a truly bizarre sense of humor.
You came to stop the anger of the Wu?
Yeah.
Tonight we will have a big feast. And then at the end of the feast, you will climb to the top of the big Wu and you will jump in, okay?
An offer it's easy to resist. You know, there's this whole mystique about how some movies play better on home video than others do. I looked at this movie with some friends a couple of weeks ago on Laserdisc, and it played. It did play. It works on video, and I liked it in the theaters, too.
I always will recommend, particularly in a big film, Red October, I think, has a big scale to it, even though it's in a sub, the theatrical experience. But of the two that you recommend, I think Red October is the better picture.
Yeah, that's because you didn't like Joe versus the Volcano at all. You're just being tactful.
Thank you.
Guilty pleasures are some of the most sincere pleasures to be had in going to the movies. And I think that's because a film has struck some sort of nerve that's specifically your own. You like it even if nobody else does. There's a strange thriller that falls into that category. It's called Blind Fury, with Rutger Hauer as a blind swordsman who uses his ears and his sixth sense in order to survive in a world full of killers. The movie is exciting, and it also has a peculiar sense of humor.
I suggest aspirin for that headache. What headache?
And on a completely different note, I really enjoyed the guilty pleasure of Bette Midler and Stella. This is a tearjerker from an old tradition with a working-class mom sacrificing herself so her daughter can marry the rich kid. Now, I don't care if this movie was corny and overwrought. Both of those were criticisms Mr. Siskel had, but I liked it.
Hey, lady, come on. Give him a break in there, will you? You ever heard of privacy? Why don't you take a walk?
No, please. Let me see your face. She's going to raise her veil in a minute when he kisses her. I got to see her face.
And, of course, that's her daughter who is being married now, Jean.
Now we know
how could anyone have a heart of stone so cold that you were able to resist the scene?
I think all of America, actually, more at least all of America's critics. Now we know why they call them guilty pleasures. You are absolutely guilty. I'm almost embarrassed, but not quite, to admit to liking Steven Seagal's debut, Above the Law, with him attacking drug dealers with his martial arts moves. I think he's at his best in the martial arts combat scenes. Now, here is one that I really am embarrassed to admit I liked. Lambada, the offbeat dance craze movies with some hot numbers between J. Eddie Peck and Melora Hardin. No Fred and Ginger, but J. Eddie and Melora. How about that? I really actually enjoyed this picture. This is the movie that had the goofiest finale of the year, or maybe any year. It turns out that there isn't a dance contest at the end. There's a trigonometry contest at the end between high school students. They looked like they were in high school, didn't they, Roger? Sure.
Yeah.
It was like two different movies were spliced together, and I thought the combination was hilarious. Maybe you just want to rent this one rather than buy it. But
my memory may fail me, but I think when we first reviewed this film, I thought the combination was hilarious, and you were saying that it was uplifting and educational and made you feel good.
No. I was sitting in the theater, and I found myself captivated. It was like watching a train wreck, and it was funny.
Well, when you were captivated, you should have, blown a whistle or something. They would have come in and rescued you. Big screen TV used to look pretty bad, but now it looks pretty good. and a lot of people are installing larger and larger screens in their home media rooms. We'll look at those systems when we come back, and later in the program we'll select some of our favorite video gifts, tapes of old television shows.
I would like all the video of the films that Charlie Chaplin did. I mean, Charlie Chaplin was a genius. And I would like to have these films because I would like to show them all to my own children.
This looks like a pretty big television picture, but a lot of media rooms around the country have even larger ones. A few years ago, big screen TVs looked pretty bad. Remember those awful screens in sports bars where you had to stand in exactly one place? They were all curved. Yeah, otherwise you couldn't see the picture. Today, it's entirely different. Today's screen TVs are so much better that some of them even look like 16-millimeter movies, and you can even sit way over to one side and still see the picture. There are two approaches to a big television picture. Rear projection television sets, which sit on the floor in front of you and go up to about 60 inches, and front projection TVs, where the picture is projected onto a screen, just like at the movies. We asked home video expert Fred Thomas to take us on a tour of one home media room where the picture measures 120 inches. It's a cold and rainy day in the country, but this house is ready to block out the chilly view and open up a new visual horizon. Welcome to a state-of-the-art home media center where electronics expert Fred Thomas has designed the ultimate in living room theater. With a screen that delivers a 10-foot diagonal picture, a television projector secured to the ceiling, and the latest in audio and video components, this room is an example of the growing popularity of home theater systems. Rooms that give their owners private screenings to rival the setups of millionaire movie moguls. Now, why are there 4 speakers underneath the screen?
Well, basically, you'd only have to have one if you really wanted to have one. It's a center channel speaker. It is designed strictly for dialogue with some music in it. But because of the size of this room, because of the size of the screen and our objective here, we used 4 speakers instead of 1.
Perhaps the most important part of this setup is all these speakers, which help bring home one of a movie theater's most important qualities, surround sound. When you're at the movies, you probably don't notice where certain sounds are coming from, but dialogue comes from speakers behind or under the screen, up in front, so it appears like it's coming from the people talking on the screen. Music or sound effects often come from the speakers along the side or the back of the room. And if a sound moves across the screen, it can also be moved across the room using these special systems. That special movie sound can also be reproduced at home.
So when this person is speaking to you from the screen, his voice should not be coming from the left or the right speaker, or, for that matter, from the rear. It should be coming from the center.
When you start with source material, like a videotape or a laser disc, is that encoded so it knows that there are center speakers as well as side speakers?
Yes.
Laser discs and Super VHS tapes are fed through a series of components to bring this room its superb movie theater feel. Fred and I sat down to watch some great old movies on this modern system, and I ought to tell you that watching it now on television, you probably can't see the wonderful colors of Meet Me in St. Louis or the incredible sharpness of the black and white Hitchcock classic Notorious. But when you turn out the lights in a room like this, it truly looks, sounds, and feels like a movie theater. After the movies, Fred and I discussed the costs and concerns involved in making your own home viewing area. What would a high-end system like this cost somebody?
The equipment alone with the labor to hang the projector and all the wiring and everything else was about $25,000. And it represents absolutely a state-of-the-art system today.
Let's put together a hypothetical low-cost package. How much can you do for somebody, and how much does their budget have to be?
Well, let's start with the TV. Okay. If they're willing to invest anywhere between, let's say, $1,500 and $2,500, they can buy a very nice rear projection television set. Then, as far as the sound system is concerned, they can make use of part of their existing sound system if they want. If they have a good stereo system now that they're very happy with, they've already got their 2 front speakers. They can buy a surround decoder, or they can simply replace their existing receiver with a receiver that has Dolby Surround built into it and even has the amplifiers in it to drive a pair of rear channel speakers, which can be just an inexpensive set of bookshelf speakers to more expensive speakers depending on your taste, and add a center channel. You then have a 5-speaker system by adding 2 rear speakers, a center channel speaker, and a receiver. And you haven't really spent more than, shall we say, an additional $1,200 to $1,500.
If people could only make one change in their typical home system, what could they do to make the biggest possible improvement?
I'd buy a Laserdisc player. And what would that do for you? Automatically, right out of the gate, your picture improvement is at least 60 or 70% better. On your existing equipment, you'll notice an immediate change.
Now, that's a pretty high-end system, and a lot of people don't have $25,000 or even $2,500 to invest in a giant screen TV. But one good thing about big screen TV, it is getting cheaper. Some TV projectors now cost as little as $3,000. The quality may not be as high, but the price is a lot lower. And then there's a man named Bill Bergfeld in Kansas City, Missouri, who has invented a system he calls Expand-A-View, which starts with your own 13-inch television set and uses lenses to magnify the picture and throw it on the wall or on a screen. His system costs as little as $1,200 or less if you throw it on the wall, and using a larger Sony monitor and a bigger screen, he's designed a system where you can look at letterbox videos minus the black bands at the top and bottom so that it feels like you're really looking at a widescreen picture. Just look at how much more movie you get on the wider screen here compared to the cropped, pan and scan version that's running on the screen at the right. The widescreen setup starts at $2,400.
Okay, the tough question is, are you really recommending this Kansas City system?
I would recommend it entirely on the basis of price. It is not as good as a nice overhead projector that puts a crisp big picture on the wall, but it's a lot cheaper.
Right. What about this compared to the 40-inch set that a lot of people like?
Once again, it's cheaper. So the whole thing is you get a pretty good picture for less money. If you spend more money, you're going to get a better picture.
Whatever big screen system you end up with, the one thing you are going to want to invest in is Laserdisc, because on the big screen, the sharper quality of discs really pays off rather than tapes. And now for some recommendations of movies that have been recently placed on Laserdisc and make use of that format beyond just having a sharper image and better sound. My favorite Steven Spielberg movie is Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Richard Dreyfuss, obsessed by an extraterrestrial visit. On Laserdisc, the film is now letterboxed so you can see the whole widescreen image. I wasn't being glib there. I actually like Close Encounters of the Third Kind more than other Spielberg movies like E.T. and Jaws. The Laserdisc of Close Encounters also includes Spielberg discussing the making of many of those scenes. It also includes the extra footage inside the mothership that Spielberg was forced to shoot and include when he wanted money to recut the film for home video. That was called the Classic Edition, I believe. He really didn't want to include all that extra stuff. He felt that it was giving away too much, but he wanted to make some changes in the movies, and so Columbia forced him to shoot the inside of the ship. Now you get Spielberg's favorite version of the film, plus extra scenes to view either separately or in their proper place in the movie, depending on how you program the disc. It is really the definitive way to see a movie, visually and with all this extra
I bet
stuff.
a lot of people didn't understand that. You can actually, with a Laserdisc, program it so you can see the longer version or the shorter version, because you tell the machine which scenes to show you.
Exactly.
And that is one of the many ways that Laserdiscs are so versatile.
Absolutely.
My Laserdisc that I like to recommend is Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's great 1976 film that's inspired. This is one of the best Laserdiscs I've ever seen. First of all, the picture quality on the disc is unusually good. It was personally supervised by Michael Chapman, the man who shot the movie. Then on the soundtrack, you have three choices. One, you can listen to the movie itself.
Sure. You know what you remind me of?
What?
That song by Chris Christopherson.
Who's that?
Songwriter.
Or, choice two, push a button on your Laserdisc machine. You can listen to Scorsese and writer Paul Schrader talking about their movie.
And he had no sense of fitting in with people. He says, you know, I have to live a pure life. He's popping pills. My favorite line in the script is he says, you know, a person should not live a life of morbid self-attention. That's all he does, live a life of morbid self-attention.
Or, choice three, push a button again and you can listen to only Bernard Herrmann's great musical score for the movie with no dialogue and no sound effects, just music. And as often as I've seen that movie over the years, that's one of the best movies ever made. That score evokes the loneliness and isolation of that character. And this Laserdisc includes not only that, but also drawings by Scorsese and others of different scenes and how they wanted to make them. It includes his notes. It includes the script by Schrader. It includes so much supplementary material, it's like the definitive edition.
I think that people get a real kick out of seeing the storyboard drawings, because that's the way Scorsese was working at that time. He would draw out every shot, and you see that, to be able to see that, this is really a great gift. We've talked about things that we would really like on this show. I think so far, at this point in the show, that's the one gift I want.
I think this would probably also be my gift of choice, Gene, except for one thing. I already have it.
Good boy.
You know, we talk about Laserdisc year after year. I wonder if people realize that the machines are now down to under $400, so they are affordable.
Great. Okay, let's switch subjects. One of my favorite uses of home video is to screen classic old TV shows of my youth. I literally grew up with the tube, being born in 1946, and on the tube I grew up with a wonderful family drama called The Goldbergs, featuring Gertrude Berg as Molly Goldberg.
Family, take your raincoat. I'm expecting showers.
I'm not. I love game shows on TV, and a favorite of mine is Beat the Clock. Here's a rare early episode from 1956.
Take a look at our Hazel Bishop clock. See how many seconds we have? 55 seconds. You understand what you have to do, don't you, Elvis? I just need... Okay. Ready? Go!
I love a lot of that shot. I like that it's kind of racy, sadistic almost, in that show. All of the stunts were, and also that Bishop clock. Just slap the plug right on the front.
They always did a lot of great things with shaving cream on that program. One of the strangest hit television shows of the 1950s has got to be the Kate Smith Hour, which featured Kate Smith singing a song, then introducing two actors for a dramatic skit that had nothing to do with anything else, after which there would be a stand-up comedian and then Kate Smith singing a song again.
In the Navy, every Navy man's the right guy.
Another hit show of the past available on video is Your Hit Parade. I like this show so much I still know the names of all of the stars by heart. Giselle McKenzie, Russell Arms, Snooky Lanson, and here she is, Dorothy Collins, with the #1 song of the week.
My darling, my love.
And every week it was a half an hour tug of my heart whether I had a bigger crush on Dorothy Collins or Giselle McKenzie. You know, watching that...
Dorothy Collins for me.
Definitely. Well, yeah. Giselle was cute too. But, you know, watching that again, I think they were programmed to always smile during all the songs, even the sad ones. And they were obviously lip-syncing there. They would pre-record it, then they would try to get as close as they could.
Well, I can tell you, when I watched it, I wasn't aware that they were lip-syncing back then. And when you visit that stuff, you're really, you know, you're revisiting your youth. You're singing these great songs. And the hokey production numbers. I love it. Who was the band leader? You remember the name?
Raymond Scott.
You got it.
And his orchestra and the Hit Parade singers and dancers.
Right.
When we come back, we'll look at the classic movies that have finally been released on video and a wide selection of videos for children.
Dr. Strangelove, Raging Bull. And those are the two that come to mind.
Continuing the Siskel and Ebert Holiday Video Gift Guide, videos for children are often worth buying rather than renting because your kids will actually screen their favorites over and over, and really you get your money's worth out of it. This year my recommendations for kids include Thumbelina, the Hans Christian Andersen story narrated by actress Kelly McGillis, the star of Witness.
Just then, a butterfly fluttered by and lit upon her niece.
Perfect for the holiday season is my next recommendation, Prancer, a fine family drama made in 1989. With one of Santa's reindeer getting lost and found in a small town. I'm betting on this one to become a holiday classic.
You better not. There's nothing holding you back. Prancer, come on!
Also recommended for smaller kids is We Sing in Sillyville, part of the reliable We Sing series of tapes.
I'm an acorn small and round, lying on the cocoa ground. Everybody steps on me, that is why I'm cracked, you see. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut.
You know what my reaction to seeing that is, you're going to watch where you step from now on. And kids, of course, believe everything is alive like that, and I think it's a real healthy series.
Let's hope they're not so paralyzed they can't walk through the woods anymore after being traumatized by it. The idea of movies that are intended only for kids is fairly new in America. There used to be such a thing as a family film, one that everybody could enjoy, and I've tried to pick 3 of those that are out right now. One of them is Walt Disney's Peter Pan with an enchanted little creature named Tinkerbell. There are a lot lot of different versions of Charles Dickens' classic A Christmas Carol around, but the very best one, I think, is the 1951 British version starring Alastair Sim as Scrooge. One of my personal favorite movies of recent years is Rob Reiner's The Princess Bride, a tongue-in-cheek fairy tale that works on one level for the kids and another level for adults, and both levels are wonderful.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
And the movie is full of cute, bizarre moments like that. Have you seen The Princess Bride recently?
No, based on I'd like to see it again real soon.
You'd be surprised how well it plays on video. I think it's going to be another movie like The Wizard of Oz that picks up steam over the years. It's a really fine movie for all ages.
You know, Christmas Carol, your other recommendation, gets played a lot on free TV, a lot. The one I think, obviously, Peter Pan is one that you'll get your money's worth out of buying that film. That can play over and over.
Our next category of holiday video gifts is aimed at classic films, movies we all remember which have not been available until recently on video. For example, the 1970 Jack Nicholson movie Five Easy Pieces, containing one of the most famous scenes in Nicholson's entire career.
You want me to hold the chicken, huh? I want you to hold it between your knees.
Another classic now on video is Howard Hawks' Red River from 1948, which tells the story of a great cattle drive in terms of the father-son love-hate relationship between John Wayne and Montgomery Clift. One of the best movies by the late, great British director Michael Powell was Black Narcissus, starring Deborah Kerr as a nun at a mission in the Himalayas. As you look at this spectacular shot here, it's hard to believe it's all special effects. Every foot of this film is shot in a studio in England. And that whole drop there is all done with a matte painting and so forth. This movie is available on disc right now, and on the soundtrack, Martin Scorsese interviewing Michael Powell, the director, about how he made the film as they watch it together.
I was impressed with just the clarity of the image we were getting there. I was looking at her shoes, the boots there, and the colors are very sharp, and that's, of course, because it's on Laserdisc. Now, one of my favorite films from the 1950s on tape and disc is Giant, the Texas oil picture, in which Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor and young James Dean each give strong performances. Dean is particularly convincing as an older man late in the movie.
You know, you could be the head lady of this part of the whole country. You want to. If you married right, if you married the right man.
Now out on disc and tape for sports fans is Kan Ichikawa's Tokyo Olympiad, his personal documentary of the 1960 Tokyo Olympics. Here in slow motion at the beginning of the film, we see Bob Hayes winning the 100-meter dash. Also recommended, Preston Sturges' wicked satire of small-town life, Hail the Conquering Hero, made in 1944, with Eddie Bracken being mistaken for a World War II combat hero.
Why can't you wear your uniform for a little while?
You look so nice in it.
I just got through explaining it's against regulation. Well, I think that's perfectly ridiculous.
So do I.
Your grandfather wore his Civil War uniform the rest of his life.
Kept having new ones made.
Well, said it helped to remind people that brother fought brother.
Well, his case was different.
Yeah, his case was a whole lot different. His grandfather saw a lot more combat than Eddie Bracken. It's a very funny film.
Mm-hmm. You know, the ones that you picked, the one I was really happy to see letterboxed was Tokyo Olympiad because it was shot in widescreen.
Right.
And I have seen it on video with the sides cropped off to make it into a TV picture. And there are races in that movie where you can't see the leaders. You only see the middle of the pack because of that cropping. It's got to be in widescreen in order to be understood.
And that's a great, great film. And we're going to have a race of our own, a video game race later in the show. Coming up next, a field test of a gift a lot of people have been waiting for, the home video editing system, so you can cut down your overlong, boring home movies.
For Christmas, my choice of a gift for everybody in the world would be E.T.
One of the most dreaded announcements you can make to guests is, would you like to see the slides from our recent trip? That'll clear the room, right, Raj? And here's another. Would you like to see the video of our recent trip, birthday party, or wedding? Everybody shoots too much tape, but there are products on the market now that help cut down your run-on movies to manageable size. They're called home editing systems, and recently I field tested two.
You're looking at a Sony 8mm video cassette recorder, a machine that also functions as a home editing system.
Its list price is $800. Why buy one? Well, let's look at some of that footage I shot earlier in the show, and you'll see how an editing system can help your home video collection.
I start shaking the camera as I move off to something else. See that kind of thing? It looks like I'm being beat up. And then here is the shot that I like to go to next.
Now let's get rid of the bad footage. The camera I used before is linked into the VCR deck and is serving as a playback machine. I copied the first good stretch of picture from my original camera tape onto my recording tape and decide where I want the scene to end, and then go back to my original tape to find the next good shot. I hit the edit button, and the machine makes a flawless cut between the scenes.
Okay, I can tell even as I went back that I made my edit. I'm pretty excited right now. Okay, let's take a look.
The edit is perfect.
And there's the edit.
Not even a jump or a flash of bad video like on so many older recorders or editing machines. Here's another deck that's the first of its kind, the Go Video Dual Deck VCR, a 2-in-1 VHS machine. Costs about $1,100. It can be used for copying VHS tapes, recording 2 different TV shows at the same time, and for some simple home editing.
Okay, here's my shot of the Sears Tower, and I thought this was getting boring after a while, and so I thought, well, I'll just turn the camera on its side and I'll get a sort of horizontal look at it. Catastrophe for me and for the building.
Let's fix it. Copy the first good shot of the Sears Tower from the camera tape in Deck 1 onto the recording tape in Deck 2. Fast forward through all that tilted footage I shot, and then make an edit to the wider shot of the Sears Tower.
There's the Sears Tower right there, upright. In a second, we'll see the edit to the long shot. Right about there is where I was going to tilt it over, and there's the edit to the long shot.
But look, the edit is not as clean and as neat as the one made on the Sony deck. Look at those red and blue lines in the center of the screen that flash during the edit.
What that machine is really good for is for copying tapes. You have a favorite tape, favorite birthday party or something, copy that and give it to a friend. That's why you want the dual deck system. I think for editing, I would definitely buy this Sony 8mm system. The first one we looked at, it lists for about $800, which means a discount house will sell it for $650. And I think it works remarkably well, provided, of course, that your camera shoots 8mm tape. That's this little stuff here. But this was the camera, again, that I liked before. I think as a whole unit, this works very well, especially for you. You don't have any of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not really into making home movies, but one thing, if I'm going over to a friend's house, not only do I want them to have this to cut out the bad parts, but I'd like to give them some lessons, too. Because 9 out of 10 people who shoot movies on this stand back too far. They believe that somehow they're making a documentary proving that 6 friends existed in 7 acres of land all at the same time. The close-up, the choice of the shot, the framing of the shot, totally unknown to most home movie makers.
Well, you know, still cameras have the same problem. Everybody shoots too far away. Shoot tighter, but really, in terms of cutting the tapes down, this is something that could be fun one night re-editing stuff.
Okay, coming up next, Gene and I will take a look at musicals and music videos that are available on tape and disc.
Well, the film that I'd like to have that for us all to watch as a family is It's a Wonderful Life.
Continuing the Siskel and Ebert Holiday Video Gift Guide, one kind of movie that stands up well after a lot of viewings is the movie musical, especially if it's one you really like. One musical I really like is out now with an improved soundtrack, and it sounds great. It's Meet Me in St. Louis with Judy Garland.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Meet Me in St. Louis was directed by Vincent Minnelli in 1944, and a year earlier he made another great musical, now available on video, called Cabin in the Sky. Based on a Broadway hit, it starred Ethel Waters, Eddie Rochester Anderson, and as a sultry seductress, Lena Horne.
Life full of consequence, but who's scared of consequence? Let's sip the honey while it's sweet.
You know, people sometimes say that stories like Cabin in the Sky are dated now. But you know what? So what? It's 45 years ago. It was a great movie at the time. It has great music in it. It has great performances, and that can be honored no matter if you don't like every attitude in the movie.
Okay, 2 of my favorite musicals, one that I just saw this past year and one from my youth. The Pajama Game with Doris Day and Eddie Foy Jr., words by Jerry Ross and music by Richard Adler.
I'm not at all in love, not at all in love, not I.
Also full of Broadway quality show tunes is The Little Mermaid. Maybe that's why the movie is as appealing to adults
as it is to children.
Wish I could be part of that world.
Of course, the animation is wonderful, but I think the glue that really holds this together is the songs. They are special.
When I saw the movie for the first time, I was just bowled over with it, looking at it again, because it is a return to the greatest days of Disney animation.
In addition to movie musicals, music on video is also a popular gift idea. I enjoy watching and listening to the tapes, for example, of old Barbra Streisand TV shows, now on video cassette. Here's a selection from her second TV special, Color Me Barbara. She was 24 years old at the time.
I watched the reunion of before we met. Surely I can always be that way again.
This special is part of a new 5-volume set called Streisand Collection with music from TV specials, movies, and concerts. A newer female musical talent is the Irish singer Sinead O'Connor, here in a London concert. The tape is called The Value of Ignorance. She's got a great voice. I don't think she needs that special video effect there.
A little of that stuff goes a long way. I mean, if she sounds so good, why make her look leprous?
That's right. Posterization, it's called, and maybe we can all forget it. Leave your finger off that button. Obviously, unless you have a special TV speaker set up, you can hear these performers better on audio tape, compact discs, or record albums. That's why I think older performers like Streisand in vintage material are better values, because there's more interesting visuals in the video. They just let Streisand sing, and you see the clothes that she's wearing, you get interested.
Well, the whole point, Gene, is you take your TV audio and run it through your stereo speakers that you have for your stereo system, and then the sound sounds terrific, too.
Well, maybe you'll come over and show me how to do that.
I'd be happy to. Music and dance are often an unbeatable combination, and nobody dances like Mikhail Baryshnikov, and few singers sing like the great Frank Sinatra. Here from Baryshnikov Dances, Sinatra, and more is the sweet Strangers in the Night.
Something in my heart told me I must have you.
Another hot performer right now is Harry Connick Jr., who's Singing and Swinging combines some live performance footage with 5 of his music videos.
Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans and miss her each night and day?
You know, I don't even know that it's how good Harry Connick Jr. is, and he is good. It's that we have such a nostalgia for that kind of music and that kind of voice, and it's hard to find that kind of music anymore.
Well, that's why I think you have a good pick there with Sinatra. He does it all by himself.
Yeah. Coming up next, that video game duel that Gene and I have been promising you. We're going to take a look at the high-tech video game system that is challenging Nintendo. We will compete on the field of TurboGrafx when we return. Ebert Holiday Video Gift Guide. Home video games were hot last year, and they're even hotter this year. These are the games you plug into your TV set and play, and recently they've grown a whole lot more sophisticated. The industry leader is Nintendo, but NEC is gaining ground with a video game system called TurboGrafx, which is built around a more advanced computer chip that produces better sound and better pictures and more sophisticated games. And Gene and I have a game here where we are going to race each other. He's in the white car. I'm on the green car.
On the bottom?
After I push the button, you'll be on top, and I'll be on bottom.
That's the way I like it.
Here we go. I'm going to hit the button, and are you ready to play?
You got it, big boy.
Okay.
You played lots of hours on this, haven't you? We'll see if all that hard work's paid off.
I played this game twice before right now, just like you.
No.
I've never played this particular game before.
Have you ever crashed?
Whoa, I hardly ever do. I'm very coordinated.
You ever go like slower on purpose?
No.
You just go flat out all the way?
Bet.
I kind of... Oh, that's 3.
See, I take it more seriously than you.
Yeah, I know. That's your problem.
I'm much more competitive than you.
I'm going to take time out from losing here to thank you for watching the Siskel and Ebert Holiday Video Gift Guide Special. As we always say this time of year, season screenings, everyone.
Have a good one.
This Christmas, give the 1991 edition of Roger Ebert's movie Home Companion. Now over 1,000 full-length movie reviews. It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly. Now appearing at theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans. Try them. You'll love them. Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Now with 30 flavors, you can serve it every day for a month and never serve the same dish twice. Your Life Daily Vitamin Packs. Each one a total daily vitamin system, specially formulated for a variety of lifestyles.
I think this might be more relevant than the driver's test, where you're asked, what sign is triangular. That doesn't come into play a whole lot in real life, does it?
Not really, no.
I think this is more valuable. Like, basically, I should have my license revoked. You know it's going to be Roger. You have time to go out for a sandwich.
I'm finished. What are you doing? Are you still in the race?
I'm diving.
Why don't you get in the middle of the road? Unbelievable. How unbelievable.
What kind of music is this? Other than annoying.
See, the thing is, it doesn't even take skill. You just have to figure out how to do it. Something that, let's see, look at this.
I'm getting closer.
You're getting closer, Roger 201, Gene 227. I beat you on every single lap